Hey, everybody. This is Pep and Steph bringing it to you all the way live from the podcast center. And
Hey.
yeah, hey.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, we're kicking it off part two. In our previous episode, we were getting into some real good material about each of our lives, about who we were, where we are right now, and where we're headed, where we're going. So
Yeah.
we're going to continue on that theme for this episode.
All right. Yeah, we had started really feeling, the need to encourage us, ourselves, our communities, our families, encourage our world to just kind of function in more love and understanding and compassion, and especially forgiveness. Because forgiveness is a hard one when you're in pain. Yeah, we get that. You know what I mean? But that brings us back to why it is so detrimental for us to be able to focus on healing. Healing ourselves, healing our bodies, healing our emotions. And we have to do that in order to heal our world. And that doesn't, sidestep anything, the relevance of anyone's, experiences or their pain. It doesn't diminish it or anything. But if we want to live solution based, then then we've got to give each other a chance, as human beings, to evolve and acknowledge change within ourselves, within our attitudes, our personalities, our spirits, our beliefs, and our actions. So I had said, coming out of the other podcasts, that in our 12-step programs, and some of the most powerful programs on planet Earth, in my opinion, there are three components, and speaking, that we talk about when we're giving testimonies or whatever, and that is, what was the situation before? Where was I? Who was I before? And this doesn't matter if it's NA, AA, SLAA. It doesn't matter what the program is. But who was I? Where was I before? What happened? And who am I now? And sometimes this who am I now from what happened may span 3 decades.
Yes, mate.
Who was I before? What was I before? May span 50 years. You know what I mean? But what's important is who am I and where am I now?
Right.
And I was saying that I have had just personal experiences with some pretty hardcore gang members, or just other people who were in points in their life when they didn't know anything to do but to take out their pain on other people in some very, very, very hardcore ways.
Right.
And because they were able to heal within themselves and within their spirit, and literally make changes in their life, who they are today are some of the most spiritual, loving, like angelic people walking the earth right now.
Right.
And so, that just further confirms to me that, the possibility for us to evolve into more loving human beings is always available.
Right.
So, what Steph and I were talking about, on our commercial break was, in order to do this, we have to bond together more as human beings. We can't segregate ourselves more from each other. The more separate we become, the less healing that takes place. Because, it is our human nature to attach or bond to something, right? To connect to something. So if we're not connecting to each other, with compassion and love and forgiveness, then what are we connecting to? We're going to connect to something. Not connecting is not on the board.
We're connecting to the internet.
We're
That's
connecting,
what we're connecting
to the
these days.
internet, to devices, to to I don't know, anything that plugs in or has a battery.
Right. Well, anything that plugs you into the false sense of being a part of a community. I mean, I think that's why there's so much kind of drain on everything that we talked about in part one of this piece, which is, connecting to each other. People are so withdrawn from society because they can automatically connect to someone online within 2.2 seconds or be somebody else in 2.2 seconds if they're not happy with themselves or. I mean, I think this whole social media, and look, we're using it right now. I mean, don't get us wrong. I mean, we have to adapt to our environment and our society, but we're trying to use it for good purposes. I mean, and what really cracks me up is I think about the purpose of the internet and all of these things.
Right.
The purpose of the internet was to connect and share information more widely, to share.
Right.
Not to restrict, and not to have people withdraw, but to share information in a smarter fashion, in a quicker fashion, to spread the wealth of information and technology. That's a good thing when you're doing good things and trying to build and help people. But at the same time, it's kind of smacked us backwards in that we're using that same technology to actually withdraw from people and from others. Like, you can Snapchat someone, or you can Skype someone, or you can just have this profile on the internet, and you don't pick up the phone anymore. You don't go walk to meet someone anymore. There's this interface between you and society now. It has its good purposes, but at the same time, I think this is the reason why we're seeing an uptick in people withdrawing from society, an uptick in kids getting bullied on campuses and all of the violence that's happening. That same well-intention of spreading information and technology has been used for horrible purposes, to tear people down. And so we really need to be, I think, responsible, as we use these technologies for good purposes, and how does that build into the fabric or tearing the fabric of our society? And so those are some of the things that we're talking about.
Well, because if we can get in the mindset of do good things with good stuff, you know what I mean? Right? Because I think it's all about the intention, right? So if we say technology, that's a good thing, or it's good stuff. Are we going to use it for good, right? If we use it to take our medical system to the next level, or or whatever it is, just to advance ourselves in ways that's going to serve humankind in a great and powerful and positive way. Okay, cool. We got that. Let's keep this moving. The moment we get into seed of greed, the moment we get into gluttony, and the moment we get into I want more at any cost, even if the cost is wiping out planet Earth, even if the cost is wiping out species of plants or people or animals, even if it means millions and millions of people suffering or dying. So it's all about stewardship. It's not that technology is bad. It's about stewardship of this technology, right? Are we good stewards over blessings, over miracles that we have access to, right? It's about stewardship. So in a word we use in our society a lot of balance, right? So when our brilliance, when our genius, and the things that come out of our brilliance and genius are taken for granted or to a point of excess, where it now throws our whole life-based ecosystem out of balance. Consequences are immense. You know what I mean? Okay, so just think, what if you and I said, hey, we've got this great idea, and it's going to increase our capital welfare by trillions of dollars. And we go, wow, we can't, to use a double negative, we can't not do that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Let's go. But if we go, hold on, we're going to do this. We can do this, but at what cost? Right? Everything is cause and effect. Everything.
Right. Those checks, those
Right?
balances.
Check them out.
Yeah.
So then we say, okay, we're going to do this thing, and it's going to increase our, ability to capitalize on it by trillions of dollars. Good. But then when we say at what cost, and we see that it's going to kill millions and millions of people over a certain amount of time, now we get to go into our humanity and say the cost is way too high.
Way too high, way too great. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Right.
So now that's stewardship. That's accountability, And then we just don't go there, right? Because if we look back and say, what was the initial ideal concept and purpose of the nuclear bomb,
Yeah.
right? You understand what I'm saying? And then to fast forward some years and say, what is the purpose of it now?
Right. Right.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
horrible
Some
stewardship.
Evaluation.
Horrible stewardship of that type of genius.
And exactly. And when you look at those types of historical things that have happened, and you look at the absence of
Right.
humanity, you think, okay, well, that moral compass is off a little
Right.
bit.
Right. Well,
where are we as a society with our moral compass? And if our
Right.
moral
Right.
compass, it doesn't matter who's in the White House.
Doesn't matter.
who's in the White House.
Right.
If we
Right.
are living
Right.
in a society where we could talk about, how we kicked this off to, who you were, where you going. Kind
Right,
of thing.
right.
It doesn't matter where you've been. It matters in terms of your character development, all of this. But what are you doing now?
Right.
And
That's
we want to
right.
kick it back to
Yeah.
biblical terms. I mean,
Right.
Jesus used those
Right.
very people that had a little bit of experience doing some not so great things to be the
Absolutely.
most perfect teachers in our
Absolutely.
society. So we need to
Absolutely.
be mindful of that. It's all about
Absolutely.
what's in here.
Absolutely.
So we look
Right.
at people, we look at our governments, and it doesn't matter Democrat, Republican, donkey, horse, whatever. It's about what our moral blueprint is.
Absolutely.
And then we can set
Right.
forth healthcare policy correctly. We can set forth technology, blueprints correctly. We can have sound housing policies
Right.
and homeless
Right.
policies. And all of these things just fall into place.
Right.
And I think we would be a better society. But at some point, we've lost that ideal. Okay, what was the purpose of the nuclear bomb? Now
Right.
looking forward,
Exactly.
why aren't we scrapping it?
Yeah.
Why aren't we reevaluating? Why aren't we doing those checks and
Right.
balances? And you can pretty much point to every wrong thing that's happened in society, and you look at that motive.
Right.
What's the
Yeah.
motive, and
Right.
what's
Yeah.
the intent that you
What's
were
the
talking
intent?
about?
Right, exactly. Right.
And then you'll go from
right.
there.
And we get to say, have we been good stewards over these things that
Yeah.
have so many amazing possibilities?
Right.
You know what I mean? So and splitting the atom was one of the greatest feats of science
Right.
ever in the history of mankind.
Right.
But then we use the ability to split that atom
Cloning and
you're right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or even just atom bomb, whatever,
Right,
right? You know what I
right.
mean? Okay. So if in order for us to take better care of each other, right? Which is this 2-part series, right? Of willing healing, take better care of each other. One of the main components of that is stewardship over the things we're blessed to have.
Right.
And where we as human beings are the priority. Our well-being, our soul, our joy, our
Right.
everything. Love leads the way.
Right.
I'm gonna give another shout out here real quick, right?
Yep.
To a brother. His name is Hayon.
Oh, hey, on.
Yeah. And Hayon back, a couple years ago wrote a song called "Let Love Lead the Way." All right. He's at the top of the food chain of an organization called Occupy Love Worldwide.
Nice.
Occupy Love Worldwide, and I heard that song "Let Love Lead the Way." I heard that some years ago, and I go, "Oh, that'll time out." It might be relevant right now, but give it a couple of years. That has been relevant since